SHINOBI. Words cannot put into context the magnitude of the discrepancy between how powerful this AC seems like it should be versus how strong it actually is. A shotgun, Ransetsu, and the plasma thrower? Are we eating good tonight or what? Well, the shotgun happens to be the Haldeman. While the rate of fire certainly makes it easier to use than the Zimmerman, the damage and impact are significantly inferior and make it feel impotent. I'm not sure if this is a bug or what, but sometimes I have these weird situations where I fire point blank at an enemy and it visually looks like everything should connect, but the stagger bar just doesn't really move. I don't know why this happens. As I was looking through the parts of this machine, I realized the Ransetsu is also the name for the burst assault rifle, which is quite practical but feels kind of underpowered compared to its bigger cousin. The Javelin Beta is sweet, and I like the plasma caster too. However, the two firearms will unfortunately have to be your main source of impact output. The frame is another Firmezzo set, except for the Mind Alpha torso, and the booster is appropriately powerful as well, at least in the basic thrust department. I think the incredible quick boost of the Alula, or even the user-friendly upwards thrust of the Gridwalker, would have been a bit better here. We've also got the standard issue RLF FCS, which isn't bad, but I'd have picked one more balanced between close and mid-range. The Ming Tang generator doesn't raise any eyebrows, and the pulse armor expansion is a safe pick too. The movement on this AC feels a bit worse than Tsubasa, but it's still a firmly lightweight and mobile preset. Overall, I want to put this AC above that of Flatwell's, but I'm struggling to think of how much higher. The Javelin Beta and Plasma Caster are both better weapons than anything found on Tsubasa, but the Burst Rifle and Etsujin feel like drilling into someone's core. An armored core, perhaps, while the weaponry on Shinobi feels more like slapping someone with a wet sock. It's certainly more fun to use though, so this factor will determine everything in this case. Headbringer. Seems familiar? Apparently, Iguazu loved the trainer AC so goddamn much that he just built it himself, and added a shield, and the generator is a bit different. I cannot say much about this build as I've already said everything there is to say with the trainer. It's still reliable, versatile, but lacking somewhat in damage output. At least the shield isn't obstructing the better of the two guns, which cannot be said about a certain other preset much higher up in the arena. Keep spamming those triggers like your life depends on it and you'll be fine. RECONFIG. This preset is the next in a long line of pre-made ACs that just kind of feels slightly underwhelming in every aspect. The laser blade is probably the best part about it, as it's still devastating. However, the remaining weapons are nowhere near as good. This plasma rifle we've seen before, but as you've probably noticed, I am absolutely not memorizing these part names. It's alright for clearing out groups or keeping up pressure, but doesn't deal much damage or impact. The companion piece is the 6-cell plasma missile launcher, which is significantly worse than the 3-cell counterpart due to the slower reload time. The last weapon is probably the best of the ranged ones. It's this generic back-mounted laser rifle, dealing alright damage and stagger. It's very good for one-on-one engagements, but competent pilots are very good at dodging the projectile, despite its high velocity. This arsenal feels like it should have been centered around the laser blade. It's a fantastic punish weapon, but building stagger is quite hard with this AC. I know Arquebus is known for their energy weapons, but some of them still wield very kinetic guns. Swinburne has a missile launcher and a fucking earshot, for Christ's sake. If those two weapons were on RECONFIG, substituting the plasma projectors, this would have been a contender for A tier. I still would have picked something more practical over the biggest grenade launcher in the game, but this alone clearly isn't off limits. The frame is solid and sturdy, logging in at 11.5k AP and over 2300 stability, despite using the mid-range tetrapods. Like mentioned previously, this specific set always makes me wonder why the designer hasn't gone a step heavier. They have some synergy with the plasma rifle's alt fire and the laser gun. Firing the latter actually stops the AC from moving, except if you're hovering in the air. This is enough reason for me to use this functionality wherever possible. The FCS is good all around, and the generator has decent performance too, but I kind of want to see what the damage would have been like with a higher energy firearm spec. The final part is post protection, which is a good choice here. This AC feels quite tenacious and sturdy, and the expansion compounds this further. I think this ties up what this AC is supposed to be. It's meant to outlive your opponents while whittling them down by spraying easy to hit AoEs. I see people talking of Rock Monson as a difficulty spike in the arena, but I always struggle far more against Hawkins, precisely for those reasons. Unfortunately, this isn't going to do you much good against some of the tougher bosses of the game, and you're gonna need more mobility and burst damage. Furthermore, a melee weapon feels like a weird choice for a tetrapod, because the hover encourages you to stay at the mid-range to outkite your opponent and be able to react to incoming attacks. This makes the AC feel like it's got potential, but needs some big changes. Candle Ring. Another gimmick build, and it's pretty fun, but could have been so much more. There's only two weapon types here, the handheld 4-cell missile launcher and the Songbird. It's pretty clear what you're meant to do here. Spam those missiles until the enemy is staggered and punish with the grenades. Alternatively, just alternate firing everything. Random bullshit go. The missile launchers I am fond of, but being your only practical primaries is a bit limiting. Some opponents are very good at dodging them, and the reload times are starting to be quite problematic. The Songbirds actually have a unique animation when you try to fire them both at once. The game slightly staggers one of the attacks, making it seem like you've fired 3 times. They're an alright range punish, but the explosions knock the enemy back, which veers the remaining grenades off course, especially against floating enemies. This happens surprisingly often, and it's why I sometimes opt to kick instead, as it's a pretty good kick. The frame is kind of meager for a tank, and I really think more would have been better. The Firmezza frame is on the lighter side, and the Fortaleza tank treads are the lightest available. This comes out to around 10k AP, which is actually pretty average. It really should have been more. Even without swapping the legs, the weight limit allows for far heavier parts. Furthermore, if we're a tank anyway, then why not commit and give us some heavier arm units? The missile launchers are good, but that's if we compare them to other weapons not requiring stance. The FCS specializes in missile lock correction time, which is a good choice, and the generator is decent too. However, I wish that pulse armor would have been swapped for assault armor. I just feel like it would be a better punish, which would also free up the Songbirds to do more of the heavy lifting. I believe this will be the last tank build we'll be discussing, and it's kind of a shame none of them feel like they really commit to going balls to the wall destructive, Umberox being the closest. I am not saying every tank has to try to emulate an Abrams, but also, why bother if you won't try? Lie Long. I don't know when we've passed the threshold beyond which ACs are deliberately designed to be shit, in order to reflect their low rank on the arena, but we are certainly here now. The Ludlow, a double split missile launcher, and a single handheld split missile launcher will be your only weapons. The 4th unit is a very bad shield. These 3 guns aren't bad, but an AC really needs at least one better source of damage if it's going to stand a chance and not run out of ammo quickly when fighting tankier bosses. Furthermore, the missiles work best at medium range, while the Ludlow needs to be in close range due to the ricochets and low accuracy. And the frame is probably the worst choice for this kind of weaponry. It's a heavyweight tetrapod made of various Balaam sets. Why a tetrapod with these weapons? They are very light, they could have easily fit on a biped. These heavyweight legs are the same ones used by fucking Michigan. Hell on 4 legs. Why? The booster has alright specs, but it's not going to help much for this heavy pig. The FCS has good lock correction time, so that's nice, and the generator is just alright as well. At least assault armor is there, to be a punisher. Probably the best choice. I don't know how to summarize this AC beyond just saying the weapons would be mediocre even for a lightweight build. but are even more disappointing on a heavyweight. You are missing crucial impact buildup, and the low damage output will leave you defenseless on the longer missions.